Hello, Dr. Doug. In my mammalogy class, I have chosen the Indiana bat, Myotis sodalus, order Chiroptera, as my research project. The Indiana bat has been listed as endangered since 1967 due primarily to human activity disturbing them while hibernating. The bat got its name from the fact that it was first discovered in Indiana in a cave called the Wyandotte in 1904. The Indiana bat is highly susceptible to human disturbance because they hibernate in large numbers in only a few large caves. There have been some caves documented to have up to 20,000 to 50,000 bats hibernating at one time, so you can see how a disturbance can vastly affect large populations of this mammal. There are several other factors causing their populations to decline, such as commercialization or spelunking into caves by large groups of humans, or changes and or losses of critical habitat around caves, herbicide and pesticide uses, and one issue facing them now is the fungus that causes white nose syndrome. The bat usually only lives to be about 5 to 8 years old, but there has been documented cases where they have lived into their teens. Male bats mate with multiple females in the fall, but the females store their sperm so they may become pregnant during the spring-summer months when there is plenty of food available. Females usually only give birth to 1 to 2 pups. After the pups are born, female bats group together forming maternity roost, usually in trees with scaly bark like white oak trees or shagbark hickories. The pups spend most of their time hidden under this bark and depend on mom to feed and take care of them for up to 3 months, after which the pups become fully independent. During the fall, the Indiana bats migrate north to their hibernation areas, which consist primarily of caves or abandoned mines. During the spring and summer, they migrate back south to their feeding and roosting sites to raise their young and prepare for hibernation again. Adult bats separate during the spring-summer months, but will join up again during hibernation. During their migration, these bats have been documented traveling up to 650 to 2,000 miles from their hibernation sites. A single maternity roost could house as many as 300 to 400 bats. These sheer numbers help them provide temperature regulations for one another as well as their young. Indiana bats are small, weighing only about 7 grams or less than half an ounce. They are dark gray to brownish with very soft fur, as opposed to their closely related little brown bat, which is shown in the far right, has more of a shiny coat that is not near as soft. Their wingspan is anywhere from 9.5 to 10.5 inches wide. Their length is anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 inches long, and like I said, their weight is anywhere from 1/10 to almost half an ounce. Here you can see the geographic range of the Indiana bat. It's primarily only located in northern America. You can see from this map on the left that they are currently found in 20 states, primarily in the eastern U.S. Here you can see where they are located here in Arkansas, which is where I live. Primarily only in the northern part of the state, but almost all of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. You can see all over into the eastern states, up on the eastern seaboard is where the Indiana bat resides. These states include their hibernation areas to the north as well as their summer feeding ranges in the south. On the right, you can see where the Indiana bat hibernate, reproduce, and form into maternity colonies. If you look right here at the state of Indiana, it's almost entirely colored in either blue, yellow, or red, which is hibernacula only is the yellow, maternity colony only is blue, and hibernacula and maternity colony is red. Right now, over 50% of the Indiana bats that are known about exist in Indiana. The Indiana bat generally hibernates mostly in limestone caves from late October to late March. Sometimes as many as 20 to 50,000 individuals will be in these caves together. In more moderate climates, they hibernate under the loose bark of trees such as shagbark hickory or white oak trees. During the summer months, these trees also can be used as maternity colonies as well. In the summer months, the bats primarily use hardwood forests to feed and raise their young. Communication traits of the Indiana bat. Indiana bats are not blind, as of all bats are not blind. They use echolocation along with their vision to locate prey, each other, as well as locate hibernacula during their seasonal migration. Here you can see the bat using its echolocation sonar to find an insect, and then the sound waves returning from the insect will allow the bat to determine its exact location. Echolocation is the sound waves emitted by the bat's mouth or nose in order to locate food in the dark. They can locate food as small as a mosquito in complete darkness. Here you can see where the bats use their vision the most and their echolocation, but you can see they use echolocation at farther distances for small objects and their vision for large objects. The Indiana bat is considered an insectivore, which means they feed primarily off of flying insects, both terrestrial as well as aquatic. They eat over half their body weight in insects every night. The most common insects they feed on are beetles, moths, mosquitoes, wasps, bees, ants, and midges. Their average foraging area is approximately 1.5 miles in radius, but that can vary depending on the habitat that they live in, from 0.5 mile up to 2.5 miles. All bat species are very important to our ecosystem, from controlling the mosquito population, providing food for bat predators, and providing rich nutrients into caves in which they use with their bat droppings and decaying bodies on the cave floors. Conservation status of the Indiana bat. In 1966, the bat was listed as being in danger of extinction under the Endangered Species Preservation Act. The bat was one of the first 78 species that was listed as being endangered. They are also listed as endangered on the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or the IUCN Red List. Habitat loss and degradation is one of the most important factors contributing to their population decline. Under the Endangered Species Act, if you know that the bat is using a particular area that you plan to manipulate by logging or burning, you must first check with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and accommodate the bat's roosting, pup rearing, and hibernacula needs before starting your projects. Spelunking or caving has also caused serious decline in the bat populations, this causing many caves and abandoned mines to be closed to human activities. If you are caught entering these places, you could be facing large fines or maybe jail time, depending on the site. Another known cause for serious decline is a fungus known as the Geomyces destructans, which has caused many devastation bat population declines all over since it was found in 2007. White nose syndrome and other threats to the Indiana bat. There are many threats causing Indiana bat populations to decline. One is human activity. Closing and or altering cave entrances to restrict human access has caused changes in the bat's ability to access the caves as well. These also have changed airflow, temperature, and humidity levels inside the caves. Habitat changes due to logging, agriculture, pesticides, and fertilizers have also caused significant declines in the populations. The Geomyces destructans is the fungus that grows inside the caves that the bats hibernate in. This fungus causes a terrible disease in bats called white nose syndrome that causes the bats to expend lots of energy during hibernation, as well as causes deterioration of the bat's nose and mouth regions and the tissue on their wings. This disease is the largest and most recent threat to the bat populations of the United States. In summary, the Indiana bats are only located in North America in mainly 20 states in the easternmost part of the United States. They were among the first 78 species listed as endangered in the U.S. in 1967. Human activity is the main threat to the populations due to disturbing them while they are trying to hibernate. White nose syndrome is one of the deadliest and most recent causes of the decline of all bat species in the U.S. Indiana bats feed solely on insects and play a large role in controlling insect populations such as mosquitoes and other bothersome insects. They migrate north for hibernation and back south again to find suitable habitat for feeding and rearing pups. In conclusion and conservation, we should keep known hibernation caves and mines closed to the public with strict penalties for entering these hibernation sites. Place restrictions on harvesting trees in known habitats used by bats by keeping harvesting outside of the maternity roosting periods of April through June. Do not harvest scaly bark trees, or at least leave 7 to 10 per acre in order to provide hibernacula for the females raising their pups every year. Restrict the use of pesticides and fertilizers in known Indiana bat habitat and hibernaculars. Stop any use of prescribed fire inside bat habitat during the months of March through June to allow females to be able to raise and feed their pups during this maternity roosting time. Continuing my conclusions and conservation methods, one is to research and look for ways to combat the fungus that causes white nose syndrome. There are a few studies of treating the caves used for hibernation with the chemical that causes the fungus to stop producing spores so that it does not grow on the bat's wings and noses. Another treatment is being tested with some degree of success is actually treating the hibernating bats with a bacteria that used to be used to slow the ripening of bananas. Another method to control the spread of white nose syndrome is the use of UV light inside hibernation caves to stop the fungus from producing spores that infect the bats. Here you can see some of my first references page. I'll let you look through this at your own leisure. I want to thank you for watching this screencast, and I appreciate you listening to my presentation of the Indiana bat.